A lot of this stuff is going to seem like really awkward and uncomfortable conversations that are going to eventually need to be had. But do you want your money or not? You saw the title, you know what this is. Let's talk about it. How are women to blame for the wage gap? And I know it sounds crazy, right? Like we live in this patriarchy. There aren't laws that protect us from certain things. Women were domestic for so long. There's so many things going on with this complex issue of the wage gap that how are women possibly to blame for this? Happy New Year, everyone. This is your friend Abrea here, the professional young professional, helping you with your career to help you get from the cubicle to the C-suite. Let's look at the data really quickly because I want you all to understand how big of a problem this is. So there's a Carnegie Mellon study that found that men are 4 times more likely than women to ask for a raise. And when women do ask for that raise, we typically request 30% less than our male counterparts. And that same study also found that 78 master's students, that just 12.5% of those women negotiated for their starting salary versus 52% of the men. To add on to those facts, the World Economic Forum found that it would take, let me get my number right, 257 years for women to get the same salary as men globally. I don't know about y'all, but I don't have time for that. And I certainly don't have time for an equal rights amendment to be passed. What's important to know here is that yes, there are some very complex issues going on that are out of our control, but there are certain things that are within our control as women and as employees and as people that we can do in order to maximize our salaries and maximize our value. The first thing that you can do is benchmark with your peers. Let's be real. How many of us are really asking even our friends who may even work in a different industry how much money they make? We're not. Why is that? Because I would like to think at least that we know that our value as people isn't solely tied to that number that comes in direct deposit every month. So we should be more comfortable talking about it. So ladies, find your male counterparts at your same organization, and I would also encourage you to find women who are in other industries or organizations as well, and men, and ask them. I like to use the tip of over or under. Say, are you making over 50,000 or below or over 70? Pick whatever number is relevant for you, and a lot of times people feel a lot more comfortable answering that way versus giving a specific number. So benchmark against your peers, because if you don't know what the market is allowing for, what the market's max is, how are you really supposed to have a sense of that number that is your skill set's value, at least at your job? This is especially true for women of color. We absolutely need to be doing this because the numbers are even worse when it comes to white women versus black women, and as well as white women versus Latina women who are sadly coming in third place, are the Latinas. So hola a mis hispanohablantes. And adding on to that sort of interpersonal benchmarking that you're doing, also use great online resources like Glassdoor or salary.com, and understanding, okay, what is my organization paying? What are other organizations paying? And even when you're looking at potentially maybe some other comparable positions that are posted on these sites, and looking at those numbers and saying, does this match up with what I'm getting? Literally make this a line item thing. If you are bilingual, if you know how to code, if you are a badass writer, each of those things has a value. Go and look and see, okay, how much would it cost for them to hire an interpreter? How much would it cost for them to hire a part-time coder? How much would it cost for them to hire a freelancer? And you tally all those things up, and that's how you create your sort of spreadsheet, your line item receipt of what you're worth. Okay, ladies, so now that we've made that spreadsheet, now it is time to make the ask. I believe in you all, and honestly, in the process of making the spreadsheet, your confidence will grow immensely, because as you start getting each of those line items in order and looking at that number, you will be so impressed and in love with yourself, because again, you've discovered often for the first time what that actual numeric value is, at least within your market. Set up that meeting with your manager, have that discussion, put that PowerPoint up there and go through it, and really let him or her know what you have to offer to the organization and what your unique contribution is. Most arguments are won through logic and through fact. So if you have a sound argument, you are not asking for anything that you don't deserve. And quite frankly, either way, you're still going to be in the same place you were. So what really do you have to lose? The half part. So the previous tips that I mentioned are great if you already are within a job and want to stay within an organization but want to move up vertically. Or at least if you're going to move horizontally, making that horizontal move worthwhile. You're starting in a new role, and I cannot press upon this enough. And again, that stat about only 12.5% of women coming out of master's programs and negotiating their salary versus 50% of their male classmates speaks for itself. It's ladies, when we come out of school, ladies, when you get that new job, negotiate. Do not take that first number. I remember when I first came out of business school and I told my aunt, who is my career idol, like she's done it all. I told her that I negotiated my salary. She was astounded. And I said, why not? I knew what I had to offer that was above and beyond the job description. So actually, if you use the previous process of creating that spreadsheet, you then again have that number in place to reinforce. So quite frankly, the first step of making that spreadsheet and benchmarking with your peers still has value, even if you are transitioning into a new role. So you got everything you need, ladies. You know your value, you know your number. You can set up that meeting, send that email, share that presentation, do it confidently. Honestly, like you're on your phone, like anyway, so like you might as well make that screen time count and like count up your bank account. So are you a woman who has negotiated for a higher salary, or are you a man who might have some tips that he wants to share, or you think I'm totally crazy? Leave a comment below and we'll start the discussion. But also be sure to share this video with any woman or man who you may think could use this information. Peace and love.